Hi there, I'm Nawar Naji and welcome back. In this video, I want to go over September's real estate statistics, look what has happened so far in 2023, and look at the last few months as we finish off this year. On a macro level, I have the following four observations. 1. Since May, the sales activity has been decreasing. In May 2023, there were just over 9,000 sales, whereas September had 4,600 sales. That is a 50% drop. Now, typically, we would see an uptick in sales in the month of September because that would be the beginning of the fall real estate market. However, we did not see that. The actual numbers for August were higher in sales figures compared to the month of September. And this speaks to the headwind the real estate market is facing due to the lack of affordability, which is driven by higher interest rates. 2. The number of active and new listings has been increasing faster compared to the number of sales. What will this lead to is longer or higher months of inventory. So it'll take longer for these properties, whether they're houses, semi-detached or condos, to sell. And eventually, as more supply sits on the market, that will create downward pressure on prices moving forward. The third observation is for 2023, 82% of the overall sales, and so far we've had 53,000 sales in the Greater Toronto area, 82% of those sales have been under $1.5 million. And again, this speaks to the lack of affordability because of higher interest rates. The fourth and final observation I have is overall 2023 is looking like to be the lowest sales since 2010. Last year we had 75,000 sales. So far in this year we've had 53,000 and it looks like we'll end up around 72,000. Again, that would be the lowest since 2010. Before I get into Toronto's data, if you enjoy this content, make sure to subscribe and give it a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. Now let's take a look at these three sectors: the detached in the 416, the semi-detached in the 416, and central Toronto condos. And central, what I mean by central is Bloor to the Lake, DVP to Dufferin. Okay, so we'll start by looking at the GTA overall market. And so a couple things here you can see. There are a lot of numbers, so do not go overwhelmed. But I do track quite a bit of information: the inflation, Bank of Canada benchmark rate, sales, new listings, active listings, and all the relative data for the real estate market as well as the economy. One thing, again, the trend here that I wanted to come across in this video is if you look at the sales figures, which again peaked in May of 2023, and now this is the overall Greater Toronto area, Caledon, Oshawa, up to Newmarket, down to the water, downtown Toronto. That's the whole overall market. There were 9,012 sales, and then you can see that it dropped in September to 4,600, 50% drop compared to May. So that's a concern because there's less buyers, less people buying. And at the flip side, if you look at the new listings and active listings, those are going up. Since May, 15,000 up to 16,000 of new listings. So that's every month coming in to the market. And you can see active is what's not being sold. So they're still sitting there. You can see 11, just under 12. Now it's just under 19,000. Sales are dropping. More homes are sitting on the market or available for sale, which will eventually put downward pressure on prices. This could be your answer to, are we at the bottom yet? I don't believe so. I think there's more room. Time will tell. Moving forward into October and November, typically December, things are pretty slow as we head into Christmas, New Year's, and the holiday season. That's one thing I'm looking at is the number of sales trend versus the supply of new listings and active listings. The other thing is everybody's taking a look at the inflation as well as the Bank of Canada. So right now, inflation is at 4%. We'll see what they do. Last decision was a hold at 5%. And again, we'll see what they do on October the 26th. For detached Toronto, you can see there the sales have dropped too. If you look at May, we had 970, which was a high, 800, 5, 4, it went up a little bit in September to 549. And you can see the months of inventory, which is a reflection of sales to active listings, that is going up since May. So you can see May, we had 1.33 months of inventory, and then it's been creeping up to 3.42 in September. So we'll see how that plays out moving forward as we hit the last portion of 2023. Semi-detached, it's pretty much similar pattern. If you look at May and April, they're 0.9 months of inventory. There aren't that many semi-detached in the city. Based on the number of sales and listings, you can see there are a couple hundred here and there. But again, the months of inventory is increasing from 0.91 to 2.7 months. So more is sitting on the market because there were 160 sales in September compared to 436 available for sale, which increases the months of inventory to 2.73. With respect to the condos, it's a little bit worse situation there, quite frankly, and data speaks for itself. You can look at May, sales were 1,100, but it's been decreasing aggressively down to 548. You can see the sales figures from 1,100, 9, 6, 6, and 550. And on the flip side, the active listings of condos for sale on the market has been increasing. 2,000, now it's 3,200. That's a 50% increase in supply of condos sitting on the market. And that is reflected in the months of inventory. And again, you can see from that 1.9, 1.8, called under 2, now it's almost under 6 months inventory. So we're shifting pretty quickly into a buyer's market because 4 to 6 months is considered balanced market. Over 6 is a buyer's market, and under 4 is seller's market. You can see we're pretty much there. Buyer's territory where they can negotiate, get good discounts, and pick and choose what they're looking for. Now, to summarize, a couple things I'm keeping an eye on is not only the Bank of Canada announcements, the next one is October 26th. However, looking down south at the US Federal Reserve. And the reason the two are intertwined or connected is the Canadian dollar exchange rate. Typically, if you look at historical data, the moves by US Federal Reserve are pretty much matched, the same pattern with respect to the Bank of Canada. And the reason is the Canadian dollar needs to be within a certain range for the exchange rate, which pretty much drives inflation. And the reason I say that is as we import products, pay in US dollars, we need that range of exchange rate to purchase those products coming from abroad as imports. Now, if the dollar drops, and I can speak to maybe 20, 25 years ago where I recall the exchange US dollar was 155 to 60 Canadian, that increases the cost of bringing products in, and obviously that creates inflation. That is not a good position. To summarize, is keep an eye also on the US Federal Reserve, because when these guys are done increasing their rates, we should be in a similar position because those two, as well as the Bank of England to a certain extent, they move together when setting their policy, monetary policy. Keep an eye on that. And again, we got a couple more data figures coming out in the month of October. Bank of Canada's announcement is October 26th, and there's another one on December 7th, right before Christmas. There's talks of potentially increasing by a quarter, so we'll keep an eye. That will dictate what will happen moving forward, because not only the benchmark rate impacts the variable mortgages, but indirectly, the language of the Bank of Canada impacts the bond market. Now, the bond market is a direct correlation to the fixed mortgages. And in the last 4 or 5 months, based on the language of Bank of Canada and the two increases that have happened, the bond yields have gone up from under 3% to above 4%, which effectively increases the fixed mortgage rates, which makes it more difficult to qualify because a home buyer would have to qualify at the contract rate, their fixed mortgage, plus 2 percentage points. We're in that 8% range, which makes it more difficult for buyers to qualify. which brings sales down, and less absorption rates. There's more property sitting on the market. It takes longer to sell, which is, again, downward pressure on pricing. To simplify things is until the Bank of Canada is done increasing rates or insinuates cuts are coming, I think we'll continue to be in this market where things are floating. There might be a little bit more downward pressure on the market, but then watch out the day or whenever they announce rate hikes are done or rate cuts are coming, there's a lot of demand sitting on the sidelines. I can speak anecdotally for clients who are sitting and waiting because they want to move up, sell their current home, buy a bigger home. First-time buyers who want to get into the market, but they can't qualify at these higher interest rates. There's a lot of pent-up demand sitting in the sidelines, and I wouldn't be surprised to see people rushing in once we have signs or indication that rates will be coming down. Anyways, I hope you found this video informative, and please make sure you subscribe, give it a like. And if you have any questions specific to your area, because real estate is very local, what happens even in Toronto, detached compared to condos, East End compared to the Northwest End is completely different. Thank you so much and have a great day.